Hey, Michael, what's going on over there?
Hey, Will, 1 or 2 bottles for the podcast today.
Can you make that 3?
Why do we need 3?
Because we are featuring a new winery.
Wow, that's outstanding. Hi, everyone. Welcome to We Know Texas Vino. This is Michael.
And this is Will.
Folks, today's podcast is sponsored by Texas Wine Club and
Texas Wine Lover app. So grab a glass and join us for a new and intriguing episode.
So, Erica, thanks for being here, but we almost drove into some scary territory.
Well, don't follow Waze.
Follow
yes,
Will.
because this is such a beautiful, gorgeous area
Right.
that you're in, but it's kind of off the road. And if
Right.
you go off of Waze, it
Right.
takes you somewhere kind of
Well,
sketchy.
it reminded me of a movie I watched back in the early 80s where they went on the wrong, not Deliverance, but they went on the wrong route. And I was a little scared. So I always joke with you, right, Erica, that it's like 3-1, 4-1 odds that we'll be murdered. I gave us
Sure.
7-1 odds.
But Will even called to make sure that we were going the right way.
Yeah, well, thanks, Will.
Yeah, I'll try.
Well, welcome back, everyone. We are here with We Know Texas Vino. We're super happy to have a great couple here we're going to share some time with today. But, Will, we're in episode 22.
I know.
We just did episode 21, and
know.
it went well. And we're in a beautiful part of the country again here in Texas, North Texas.
Yes. You know, it's always amazing to get to come out to a different winery.
Yes.
And talk to the people out there.
Yep.
And get to know them, get to know their wines, get to know the personality.
Absolutely.
And that's, to me, that is understanding what they're making as a wine. And you get to understand them, you get to understand the wine. And I think the wine, actually, I know it makes the wine taste better.
Just knowing the people and
Yes.
knowing the hard work. And then we had the pleasure of doing a little pregame. We actually had a little tour of the vineyard, which was really cool. We had our hosts show us all that cool stuff. So we're going to talk about that here in a minute too. But I even took a picture, Erica, with you. It was so beautiful out there. It's a beautiful part. And we're in Sadler, Texas. I did not know Sadler existed until today.
Well, you know, there's a lot of different places in Texas that you don't know it doesn't exist.
Texas is a big state, but we're in Sadler, Texas today. We're at Red River Wines and Provisions. Love that. By the Hartman Vineyard. Is that correct, you guys?
Yes.
And we're here today with Scott and Krista, or KK. I'm going to call her Krista. And thanks for bringing us into your great facility, you guys.
Thanks. You're welcome. We're glad to have you.
Yeah, and so we're pumped up, and we walked in here, right, Erica? It's pretty cool, and they just have this cool display. I mean, they have like placeholders with like We Know Texas Vino and different wines, and they've really prepared for us.
So we're actually be doing it while we're doing this podcast. We're going to be doing a tasting,
kind of unique.
It's
fun.
It's new to us. We have not done this yet,
and so we're happy to be here. Just real quick, Will, the sponsors who we're so proud to have the association with.
Yeah, it's Texas Wine Lover app and TexasWine.com. We love both of them tremendously.
We've built great relationships with those folks, and we are happy to promote and drive traffic to both those locations. We're super pumped to have that amazing association.
Yeah, and currently right now there is a promotion going on with TexasWine.com.
What is that, 50% off?
50% off your first shipment. So if you go on there and you tag in We Know Texas Vino, all one word, you get 50% off that first shipment.
That's awesome. Then, Will, how can people find us online?
You can find us at Facebook, We Know Texas Vino, and then coming very, very soon, We Know TexasVino.wine.
We are so excited about that.
I'm excited about that.
Yeah, well, you showed me the template the other day, and I'm like, ooh, it's pretty snazzy, pretty awesome.
He called it classy, but I know we're not a bunch of classy
We're
people.
not very classy, but the website's going to be classy, so that'll be cool.
So, and then, of course, you can find us on any major podcasting application out there.
Beautiful. Yeah, we're pretty pumped up. We've reached several different corners of the world already, and kind of I tell people we're going global, Erica. So we're kind of hitting those countries. So Mexico is a big one right now.
Yeah, our biggest one right now is Mexico. We've hit 2% in Mexico, and that came out of nowhere, and it's because it was Germany before that,
and Japan,
and
New Zealand.
Yeah, and it's just been jumping around, and I'm like, hey, you know what? If they're getting the name out to Texas over there, so be it. And we just got to figure out how to ship to them.
Yeah. Well, let's jump in here. We're excited. So we're here with Scott and Krista, and we have wine on the table, and we just sampled one before we started the podcast. And Krista, I'm going to let you kind of describe, what was the first one we tried here?
You're trying the 2022 Pic Pool Blanc.
Nice.
From the Breaking Bud Vineyard.
Ooh.
And this is a crisp, fresh, somewhat citrus, maybe some green apple, very clean wine. It would go great as a porch sipper or maybe with some fish.
Ooh, I like that. But porch sipping sounds a lot of fun.
Sipping.
Just getting to know you two, I think porch sipping would be really fun with both of you. So I don't know. That sounds really good. Well, it's a great one. And then you had mentioned something pregame as well, that it's not necessarily a finished wine. Is that correct? So you're still in the process of battling that.
We just recently got our license
awesome.
last fall. just in time to make a few wines that can be used for our opening that we're planning in 2024. So these wines that you're tasting today are what I say are wines in process.
In process, okay.
So 2 are in stainless steel and 2 are in barrel. And the ones in barrel will stay in barrel for quite a while because I'm sure we'll talk about it later, but Will mentioned old world winemaking, and,
yes.
and some of our style is old world and some of ours is new and innovative.
Well, you blew my mind earlier and we're going to talk about that because I wrote down notes, and you were talking about some old world techniques that you're using. I think that's really awesome because, why not bring some creativity to North Texas and what you guys are trying to accomplish here? So we have a great spread here, and Scott, I'll pick on you real quick. Thank you for doing this. I know this was all you, right? Is this you doing this?
I can't take credit.
Oh, you can't take credit.
I would have. If this is the only thing you can take credit for, take as much credit as you can.
Yeah. we always joke that us guys, we know the ladies are a lot smarter than us, and we get that. Okay, that's undisputed for sure. But it's a great spread. But how awesome is it that you guys did this for us? Why did you do that, Scott?
Well, we just saw this as a great opportunity. We love talking to people about wine. We love wine. So any chance that we have an opportunity to talk to people about what we're doing and something we're passionate about, we welcome the opportunity. Whether it's being recorded or whether it's just a couple of people talking, we enjoy it.
And so, Will, what was the word you pulled out of that statement from Scott? Passion. Again, once again, what are these passionate winemakers?
It never fails. Every person we talk to is passion. It's actually passion, family, and community.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
Those
so
are
I'm
the 3
sure
words that we hear all the time.
Well, but just know that this is not a business you do if you're not passionate about it.
You got to put both feet in.
Yep.
You got to be all in. It's hot. It's sweaty. It's farming. And in order to make great wines, you got to be in the vineyard. You got to be in the vineyard a lot.
Yep.
So you got to be passionate about it.
Were you in the vineyard today?
We were.
Okay, there you go. That just answered that question.
Well, it's kind of funny. When we did James with OG Cellars, we had the whole discussion about the farmer's market and how they said that growing grapes and making wine is not farming.
Right, and of course we all, Krista just got
I
a look on her face. Yeah, she disagrees.
Well, I mean, it doesn't take much to grow a potato or watermelon, but where it takes grapes, it takes hard work, blood, sweat, and tears, and in some cases, in your case, a tornado hitting your place and come back and have to do everything again.
So you know about the tornado.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that.
We'll talk about that here in a little bit.
Well, let's get into the nuts and bolts here. The meat and potatoes. We're super pumped to be here. We've already had a wonderful time, and I know Erica got a fun little ATV ride. What do they call it? ATV ride down to the main house, which is pretty fun.
I got to meet Mojo and Blanco, the 2 dogs that are awesome.
All right.
And see the awesome wine decor and learn that Krista is also a very good pianist.
Okay.
Maybe not
Rusty
a concert pianist, but very darn close.
Wow. So multi-talented over there, little sister. Look at you. She's being modest, but she knows. She's like, I'm actually good at all those.
Scott played
unfortunately, nobody could see her shaking her head.
Scott plays the trombone better than she plays the piano.
Oh, is that right? Trombone?
Trumpet.
Yeah. Shoot.
Trombone.
There's a little slide with the trombone.
Yeah, sorry.
Big difference. So, well, cool. Let's get into it. So we're super pumped. So I'm going to start with a quote that I read on your website. Is that okay if I do that real quick?
Sounds good.
It says, we bought a tired ranch back to life. We brought a tired ranch back to life by planting a vineyard and developing a micro winery. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So
You're in the micro winery now.
Tell me about this great area. I mean, we took a walk about it. It was just fantastic. We're actually very envious and impressed. But maybe both of you can comment. Why did you land here? How did you find it? And what are you doing with all this? You're developing something powerful.
Yeah. So let me maybe take a step back and we met in 2020, in July of 2020, our first date, and
we met in 2000.
Oh, I'm sorry, 2000.
Wow. We may have to actually walk out here for this moment under 5.
Well, here's what we learned already. Scott sucks with dates. He's great at everything else, but his dates are way off. So bad history
You have to edit that.
So in that first date, we had an Archery Summit Pinot Noir. And that's sort of how we bonded and got to know each other. And that love for wine has carried us through. We've traveled all over the world, whether it's, Napa, Oregon, Paso Robles, or overseas in Spain, Italy, France. And we've just have really dove into and just have had just tremendous experiences. And, it was one of our 40th birthday. We were at we were at Honig out in Napa, and we were just, it was 11 o'clock in the morning, having a glass of wine, and we started talking to people. And hey, where are you from? Hey, we're from Houston. Hey, where are you from? We're from Dallas. Hey, where are you from? We're from San Antonio. There were 9 different groups of people ranging from 2 to 10, and they were all from Texas, all at Honig at 11 o'clock in the morning. So like one of the things that really hit us is like, hey, if all these people are traveling from Texas to Napa, spending, $250 a bottle, and then all the travel arrangements, guess what? They'll come to North Texas for the same thing. We just got to make a quality wine.
Wow. Mm-hmm. So that was like a tipping point for you, especially. Yes. You saw the potential just being in that room. And that is fascinating that all those couples and all those people, groups of people were from Texas. That is such a coincidence. And it's such a fine line in this world anyway, how we met or how we do anything. Yep. But that was a fine line moment for you folks.
Yeah. And then following that, I started to realize there's wineries all over Texas, and we started doing crazy day trips from Dallas all over Texas, and just cool experiences, meeting people and be able to sit in the, just sit down with the owners, the winemaker, and talk to them about it. And we just, probably about 2011, we left a winery. Wasn't a very nice place, wasn't the best service, but they were packed. And we said, hey, we could do this.
Oh, that's cool.
And that's sort of what got the wheels spinning.
Yeah. And Krista, same for you. You were in the same boat. I mean, you guys were on the same page the whole time, or did it take you, were you there sooner or later?
Well, the funny thing is, after we moved from Chicago to Dallas in 2006 and started these day trips, and we were having a lot of fun. And every Christmas, we take a road trip home to Iowa and Wisconsin to see the family. And you run along, and there are the billboards all throughout Kansas, Missouri, Illinois, Iowa, winery. And Scott said, would you ever think that we should actually follow through and open up a winery? Wow. And at the early stages of it, I'm like, we can't afford to do that. And I'm kind of like, you're too practical. We will not do that without money. And we just kind of fell in love with the whole concept of it and the idea of it. The more visits we made, especially to the smaller family-run operations, and it intrigued us enough to research it more.
Wow, that's cool. We have a really good friend, Eric, and I, who he always says whenever you go to a new house, like you're out just looking at homes, take notes on things that you want in your home. And then someday she'll design one of our new homes. But maybe you guys were doing that as well, just taking notes. You were seeing, like Scott, you had mentioned, just you kind of the one that was a little dingy, but it was packed. And maybe you were taking notes on what would attract those people.
Yeah, I mean, all of our tastings, whether it is, I'm just thinking of the Swanson tasting that we did in Napa, or whether it was in Spain where they had the almonds. We just been making notes for the last 20 years.
That's amazing. That's fantastic.
And that's what I've been doing too. Every time I come to a new winery, we take some wines. I take notes of what I like about the decor, about the people, everything, because we want to get to that point where we make that wine that everybody want to come to,
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's cool. And so we're sitting in a really fun little, I'm going to call it a tasting room because we're here tasting, but I think by law, maybe it's not called that. And so describe your infrastructure you have.
Well,
here.
I call it the wine shack.
The wine shack.
It's not a she shed. It's a she makes wine shack.
I like it. Okay.
And I'm the farm her winemaker.
I love it.
And this is 26 by 26.
Okay. For our listeners, so they have perspective.
Yes. When we arrived and purchased this property, this was a rundown barn. And I suspect maybe a couple horses lived in here at one point because we found the little grain containers on either side of the garage doors. And for the first 3 years that we lived here, this just served as storage. And we did always say we're going to make wine in that little building and expand upon it and expand upon it and expand upon it as time rolls on. Yeah. So it's now spray foam insulated and cooled properly, and it's all sealed up so that we can keep the critters out. And
the critters, we're going to talk about that.
We can keep it sanitary because you can't make wine without being kind of a sanitation freak.
Yeah. Right.
And it works for us.
Well, it's really cute. And, Scott, you maybe elaborate a little bit more, even if you'd like. But, I'm sitting here with barrels next to me. We're sitting at a beautiful little table here under a barrel. And I'm seeing some of your great equipment you have purchased here. So you obviously made some major strides towards your goals. Yeah. And that's what's impressive about this little room. It's really fun. I mean, it's very intimate.
Yeah, you know what? It's been a journey, and as we've been coming along since about 2015, we've just been making incremental steps. Whether it's learning how to grow the grapes, because we know that great wines come from great grapes. So it all starts in the vineyard, starts in that soil, and it's just been sort of a journey along, and we've been buying equipment through friends, and some of those friends that you've just visited just recently, we bought equipment from them. You know, Eden Hill, for example, we got several pieces of equipment here that we bought from them.
Okay,
and them. it's a very cool community. We all help each other,
right?
And people are a text away or an email away. And when Chris or Baker outgrows a tank, then we take a look at buying it.
That's amazing. Yeah. So, Will, we've heard so much about the cooperation in this region in particular, really in all of Dallas, even down in Fredericksburg. But really here, there's something special happening.
Yep. And, it's amazing that, have talked to everybody from always as RK down to OG Sellers, then all the way down to Lisa Christopher and Rustic Spur down there. How everybody's all talking about we share, help, and divide and conquer.
What was the word? It's not cooperation.
It's co-op.
Lisa and Rusty.
Oh, Rusty's word, co-opetition.
Yeah, co-opetition.
Co-opetition, because there's still that spirit of competition, but
that's
also
from his
cooperation.
Canadian friend.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Yeah, that's right.
But it's right because you can take two grapes coming off the same vine and get two totally different products.
Yep.
100%. So you have this beautiful area here, and then tell me about your vineyards. What's your acreage out there? What are you doing out there? And I mean, it's a pretty big spread. And then you told me pregame you actually have some vision of doing some additional planting.
Yeah. So we got 4 acres planted today. We got another 4 more acres that we can easily fit into the land that we're going to be planting a little bit later. We're working through our test vineyard to try to figure out what's going to be the estate white. So when we're all planted, we'll have 8 acres that we'll be drawing from.
That's amazing.
Awesome.
So it's pretty good farm,
yeah.
right? I mean, you guys are working hard. Now I see the two of you here, and thank you for doing what you do. Where's the rest of the help?
You're looking at it.
That's what I thought.
No. I can't say that. I can't say that. We do have one young man who works for me full time.
Okay. What's his name?
Scott is the weekend warrior.
Okay.
His name is Taylor.
Taylor. Thanks. Shout out to Taylor for helping out. Yeah.
Taylor Whittick. And he's our neighbor. And we've enrolled him in the Grayson program. He just immediately took an interest, and he didn't know a lot about wine until we put him to work. And he loves information and seeks information, and it's raining, and he just jumped right in with me and has this eagerness to be helpful and learn. He's 25.
Okay.
That's a great age, right? They're still absorbing information.
Yes.
If you find that passion, then it's going to be an easy get. Yeah, it's really, really cool. Well, that's so cool. Go ahead.
So before we move on to the next one, did you want to do the next wine here?
Should we do a quick wine real quick? Let's do it. This is kind of a unique podcast, but we'll drink some wine and do some tastings.
Right. Which one are we going to do?
Well, I remember Mr. Michael said he likes Tempranillo.
I do.
So
no, I don't like it.
You love it?
I love it.
Okay. So on your table, you have 2 different types of Tempranillo. This is the first one. Now, this could be called a rosé of Tempranillo, but it's a rich colored rosé because I didn't really make it to be a rosé.
Oh.
And do I have time to tell you a funny story?
Please. No, go ahead. You're on. This is about you. This is
on
for
your
you.
sheet, it doesn't say it, but on the tank that this lives in, this is called the Happy Accident. We're going to have to come up with a better name for it than Happy Accident.
I don't think there's nothing wrong with a happy accident.
Well, I don't know. I fell in love with my labels that my niece has designed for me, and I just don't see Happy Accident on her labels. But we'll work on it.
All you have to do is have 2 happy faces crashing into each other.
Yeah. So, when I was at Grayson, one PowerPoint slide that stuck out in my mind was, you may not open your winery until you have 5 years made wine from your own fruit. So the first year, we had a little bit of fruit.
2018.
Okay.
And the second year, we had more fruit than we knew what to do with.
Is that right?
Okay. This building that you're in was not ready. We hadn't even started it, really. And what did we get, like a ton and a half?
Yeah, we got about 3,000 pounds.
3,000 pounds.
Wow.
And we harvested all of it in like 3 bins. One of the bins got a hole in it. We didn't have enough bins, so we put fruit in the back of the pickup truck, and we did all the processing on the blacktop parking pad down there, and I converted the guest room in the house to my little wine studio because no license, right? I'm just practicing. You're supposed to practice 5 years before you open your winery. So I had wanted to make a rosé. I love rosé from Provence. Scott traveled for work one year to Provence, and he brought me home this beautiful bottle from Chateau de Bern. And ever since then, I love a good Provence rosé. So I just said, set me aside 3 5-gallon buckets of the crushed Tempranillo, and I come back to that and make Tempranillo, a rosé of the Tempranillo. Mm-hmm. No. I did not read all of my information from Scott Labs that I prepared and ordered all the proper yeast and nutrition and everything. You pressed right away.
Right.
So it's pale. Mm-hmm. It sat on the skins for over 24 hours till I got to it.
That's what you got.
And,
okay.
you know, I was nervous with all this fruit that we had. I was trying 4 different yeasts for the traditional Rioja Tempranillo style. And I wanted to make this rosé, but I was really focused on the 4 batches divided up to test this yeast. And then we were tired. It took us all day to process that. We got rained in twice. We had to cover everything and shut everything off twice. And so Scott just said, I want you to make it anyway. He's like, let's get the press out. Let's just make it anyway. And so I probably had a mini meltdown, and maybe I had a little bit to drink. And then we went out and fired up the press, and I made it, and we loved it. And we called it a happy accident, but it was darker than this.
It was darker.
It looked like Beaujolais Nouveau. Like every November, France comes out with Beaujolais Nouveau. So I've made it every year. This past year, I pressed it sooner just to see if I could get myself a little rosé out of it. And so this is the closest we've come to the happy accident being a rosé.
Okay.
But I'm really delighted with it.
There's nothing wrong with calling it a happy accident. I mean, to do your label, just do 2 happy faces crushing into each other. There you go. Easy done.
And the thought process, we got the estate red. This will be our light red.
Oh, okay.
When you taste the regular Tempranillo, you're going to much heavier. This is a light, refreshing. We love Pinot Noir. It's not exactly a Pinot Noir, but we want it to be sort of in that style.
And it's sharp. I like it. It's got a good taste to it.
I'm just going to say this. The very first taste I get off of it is like a strawberry.
I'm so glad to hear you say that. A friend of ours, she was here, and we took the lid off the tank, and she's like, it smells like strawberry jam.
Oh, it's strawberry jam. Okay.
The classic rosé aroma is strawberry.
Oh, really? There you go.
Yes.
Yeah, that's like the very first.
So I'm tickled with that.
How about the unexpected experiment?
Unexpected experiment.
I love it. Well, that's really cool. So how you developed that. And we just had a rosé as well, and a little while ago, and this is a little darker, of course, but very nice taste.
It's very good.
Yeah, so you did well.
Thanks.
I mean, his was crisper.
Yep.
But I mean, it had more of the green apple feel to it.
Right. The apple.
But this right here has.
I think I know which one you had, and it's delicious.
Yeah, it's great.
But I love that winemaker. So
That's right. The winemaker's outstanding.
This is. I really do like this, and I'm gonna need a couple cases. No, I'm just kidding.
No, there you go. Guys, your first big sale. Yeah,
we're getting ready to bottle it, and I don't know when we'll put it up for sale, but
that's exciting.
It'll be ready for you.
You guys have to be kind of tickled just getting to that point where it's like we're bottling and then that's going to be out there.
Oh,
and people are gonna be enjoying the wines.
I can't tell you how pleased I am to be moving on from small batches.
Good for you.
They're very difficult to control.
Well, I mentioned earlier just everyone who had the kindest things to say about both of you, but I think everyone's genuinely excited for your success as well. And I know that we are too, but it just seems like the people we've talked to have been bragging about them and just the kindness that they get from you. But, why not have success across the board? Why not make, I guess one of our points of doing this podcast is we want everyone to be successful. So when we showcase a winery or a vineyard or ownership, we want to drive traffic to you, but why not have success across the board? Why not make California sweat a little bit?
Well, I mean, I think Texas already is.
I think they are too.
Texas already won several golds out there.
Yeah.
So, but I know Amy has talked nothing but, Amy from Texas Wine Lover has talked nothing but highly of you the whole time. And I've heard some stories too, but that's
stories.
I'm sure.
Well, TK disclosed that her little
some with just the girls and some with Scott. I'm sure.
Scott's probably the protector. He's probably the man in charge. So, Well,
I don't control. I just manage the outcomes.
I love it. Well, it sounds like you have a big part, Scott, in kind of the vision of this place. I mean, as I'm learning the roles of each of you, but I don't know if you come from development or some sort of engineering or architecture or where you come from professionally. Electrician, yeah. So it sounds like you have a mind that has the ability to cast the vision and do something awesome. So what does the future hold for you? You have a great property. You're doing a great job. We're drinking some of your great wines. You tell me where you're headed.
Yeah. So if you think about it, within the next year, we're going to add a tasting room, and we're going to open fall of next year.
Exciting.
Then probably in that 2-year range-ish, we're going to do a major expansion to the north. The idea is to take the production that we're sort of skimping away here. We're going to move it into a much larger production facility, and within that should be like within the next 5 years.
That's
and
great.
In that 5 years, we're going to put a couple of tiny homes on the property, so people can come, stay for the weekend, and drink wine.
Oh, that'd be great.
And we'll have sort of this ecosystem that'll be going on here in the area.
Multifaceted, a lot going on. It's like a bee's nest. It just things are an anthill, whatever you want to call it, but things are just happening every day with the small home, the tiny homes, the harvesting, and all the good stuff going on there. So the next few years are going to be really exciting for you guys. So Scott, you said are you still working full time as an electrician?
I work for
the electrician knowledge back.
I actually went to college. I did get my degree in electrical engineering, but I never used it. I work for a consulting firm.
Okay.
So during the day, or my day job is working for the consulting firm, and then I'm the weekend warrior.
That was she had mentioned earlier. Yeah. So that's exciting. And so for me, what I'm hearing is that there's a lot of roles here. So KK, Krista, what's your day look like?
My day typically starts between 6 and 6:30 with 2 dogs.
Yeah.
And then I review my giant list that's like a treadmill, or like those little things you used to see the mice run around on, because stuff drops off, stuff pops on, stuff drops off, stuff pops on. So there's never something I shouldn't be doing.
Yeah.
But the latest task for me is the balance between, we now have wine that's alive and well and progressing in a large quantity, and it's licensed wine, plus the vineyard. And from the beginning, we have agreed the vineyard has to be so well taken care of.
Good.
Because if the vineyard isn't taken care of and the fruit isn't healthy, the wine will not be good.
Correct.
And so I'm very, very committed to being out in the vineyard, which is why I'm grateful we were able to have Taylor come and help, because we now are at that choke point where if we don't have help, there's stuff that's going to get lost and not done, and it needs to be done. A friend of ours, Grayson Davies, saw the fruit that we made this Tempranillo from last summer, and he's like, I think you just need to keep doing what you're doing in that vineyard. And he and his family are very particular in their vineyard, and I respect that from them. So the vineyard is first in my day, and then we've begun to get a little bit of a schedule and a rotation of some of the activities that happen in the winery. And that's a new rhythm for me. But for example, bottling. This will be the first time that we're going to bottle something that's official. So we have a little bottling machine we bought, and Taylor's ripped it apart and put it back together to clean it and sanitize it and make sure it's working. And so we'll bottle the Peak Pool that you sampled. We'll bottle this rosé that you sampled. We have another wine that I didn't put out for the samples that we will bottle. It's made from Mourvedre, from Breaking Bud, but it's a rough rotation of, you got to get the nets up, you got to test the leaves. Like right now, we've just tested all the samplings from each block of Tempranillo. We send it to a lab, and they're going to let us know what our nutritional uptake is.
Okay.
We're going to see what the fruit is, how the fruit and the vines are progressing through the season, because it's not been a crazy rain year, it's not been a crazy drought year, we haven't had a lot of heat yet. It will come. Pretty much mid to late June, the rain will dial off, and we'll see what happens when the heat arrives, and then we'll start to ripen. So we may have some nutrition to supplement in a few weeks. You're just always, out there scouting for stuff, making sure that things are staying healthy. I mean, if you watch Bottle Shock, I forget the character's name, and I'm sure that Bottle Shock wasn't the first place it was stated, but the farmer's footprints are the best fertilizer for your vineyard.
Wow, interesting.
Okay.
And I'm putting a lot of footprints out there.
Good for you.
But from March to September, it's 7 days a week.
Yeah.
8 to 10 hours a day. So it is. It's
a commitment.
Yeah.
Well, and I listened to Rusty and Lisa's comments, so I know you got lots of awesome detail about the vineyard work that they do.
Yep.
It pretty much mirrors what we do here.
Right. So what I think you should do is when you have your little bed and breakfast out here, include harvesting.
Yes,
That if you
absolutely.
stay at the bed and breakfast, you have to harvest.
Oh, you have to.
You ever seen The Office?
Yeah.
Okay, Dwight Schrute and his beats farming like that. Get out there, bang on the thing, and wake them up, and get them out there and harvest.
That's hilarious.
That is what you need to do.
my
And make sure you put that in very small print where they can't see it.
Okay. So noted.
I'm sorry. I'm interested in the lab work. Is that at Texas A&M? Where do you send that lab, the PhD to be studied?
We could send some stuff to A&M. I work with Fritz Westover Viticulture. I'm a member of his Virtual Viticulture Academy because he's in Houston and he can only be in so many places at one time.
That's true.
So as a member of the Academy, we get introduction to some great resources. Waypoint Analytical in Tennessee is where we send stuff. So I get soils tested there. I get the leaves tested there. I get the water tested there. I can have that all tested at A&M as well. But through the Academy, we get a really reasonable rate for those tests.
Then. Yeah, that makes sense.
And then they're sent right to Fritz for his analysis and directions for us for what to respond to if we don't happen to see everything that he sees, because he's 25-year viticulturist.
Right.
Yeah. And so, to kind of wrap it up here real quick, just with this concept and this point, your day is very, very busy. It's 7 days a week, as you had expressed, Scott, which is amazing. But that's a beautiful thing, isn't it? When you make that commitment and you're out there, there's something about sweat equity and there's something about a job well done. It's got to feel good. And you just have such a fun, pleasant personality.
Well,
I imagine, imagine after a long day, sometimes you just don't want to see another human being. And you just leave me alone. Maybe. But your disposition tells me that you do enjoy what you're doing because you're a farmer and you're out there working hard, and the labor ultimately will equal beautiful wines.
That's right.
And that's got to be very satisfying.
At about 6 o'clock in the evening, Scott gets hungry.
Yep.
And I'll get a text. What are your thoughts for dinner? And then also, do you need a ranch water? Can I pour something for you?
Right.
And that's kind of like, oh, now I'm motivated to go inside.
So wait a minute, ranch water, is that with vodka and Topo Chico?
You
Or
could
tequila.
make it with vodka and
Or
Topo
tequila.
Chico. You could make it with tequila. But there are several brands that
Gotcha.
manufacture them that make it really easy to just pop the lid off the can and get ready to go.
Okay.
Because I don't know if you've heard the saying, but to make great wine, it takes a lot of beer.
Good cold beer.
I've not heard of that before. That's
And a good cold beer does taste awesome at the end of a hot day.
I have a problem then. What if I don't like beer?
That's okay. You have a ranch water.
There's some wine for you.
There's plenty of options.
Yeah, there's options. Yeah, we'll throw you in a lake.
So I'll tell you before
go
we
ahead.
go to the next spot,
Yeah.
you want to go ahead and introduce the next one?
Sure. I got to finish the one I'm drinking.
That's right. And so, so we had two spectacular, and I think I'm getting excited about the next one. So this is going to be really fun for me. Yes.
So we're free to mention friends in this program.
Of course.
So Patrick, Julie, and Presley Whitehead have all been phenomenal to us at Blue Ostrich.
Okay.
And you know that Presley and Grayson Davies are married.
Right.
They're expecting their second baby anytime now.
Oh, exciting.
But that whole, like you said before, the passion, the community,
Family.
Teamwork.
teamwork.
Yeah.
So it really is all boats rise. And Patrick ended up having extra Mourvèdre this year. And he invited me out to lunch because there was a couple of women winemakers stopping by for a tour from down the hill country. And we were just sitting, having some Tempranillo. And he leaned over. He's like, hey, I'm going to have some extra Mourvèdre from the Gilmore brothers. And it's going to come in. It's going to be the last thing I'm going to harvest. Would you like to have some?
And let me just preface that we were done. We
I had
had
put
all
all
the
the
equipment
equipment
packed away, and we thought we were done.
Oh.
And Krista texts me and says, hey, what do you think if we can get a ton? I was like, let's do it.
Yeah.
That's so
So
cool.
he says, regular, he's like, we'll divide up the shipping by all the bins. He sent 17 bins to the harvest.
Wow. Wow.
And Mark Rogers at Marker was going to get some, and he was going to share some with me, and we were all going to divvy that up. And so we've all made a batch of this Gilmore Brothers Mourvedre from the same harvest. Mm-hmm. Now, I haven't gotten back together with Mark and Patrick to taste theirs, but I brought my ton back. I went to Blue Ostrich for the afternoon and helped process, and Mark did too. And so I stood there and I took the stuff called MOG, material other than grapes. It was my role to pick stuff out because it was machine harvested. It was my first time to make wine from machine harvested fruit. So a few other little things get involved in a machine harvest versus hand harvest. No snakes, but there's some critters. Yeah, so I brought it back here, and where we're sitting right now, actually, the 2 bins were living on the floor that I made the wine in. And once it got done fermenting, it's been aging in neutral French oak. Ooh. So this was harvested middle of October last year, or maybe the first week of October.
Oh.
As we all take a sip.
Yeah,
there goes silence.
There goes silence.
Trust me, you should hear it in the headphones. It's like dead silent.
Yeah.
Nobody breathes.
Except for me, I'm known for like taking a big sip.
Do it.
I just love
You're
it.
Supposed to, though. Yeah. You really are supposed to.
Well, I tell
Take a good sniff.
I tell all the new people who drink wine, you don't have to put it on like an oxygen mask, Michael.
Well, I have great lungs.
Try to stop them.
But I mean, like right away, I get like a really dark, sweet black cherry.
Yeah.
Right away. And I love that taste. I'm
actually really proud of you. I mean, I know where you're headed with the wine industry.
Light up twice.
I know, but you are really getting a taste for these wines. Considering, keep this in mind, folks, he's only been drinking wine for 4 years.
Awesome.
And I had to introduce him to Syrah, for crying out loud, all right? So
No, don't take that credit from Grayson.
No. Oh, my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah, we went. That was my first time drinking Syrah out there at RK.
He makes a beautiful Syrah.
And I'm not a Chardonnay fan either. And he actually broke out some his Chardonnay, and I was like, "Whoa!"
Will's
his Chardonnay is totally different than maybe some Chardonnay that you may have experienced.
A lot of the Chardonnay that I've experienced, I usually just throw that in with some risotto, and that's what I make it with.
That's perfect with risotto. You're right.
Is.
Good dry white in there.
Yep.
Yeah, Will's a great cook. Well, let me. So, what is the name of this one then? Did you name that already?
I didn't name it. It's just 2022 Mourvedre.
We need a fun name for it. So that is your homework until the next time we see you. We have to get a good name for it.
We're really excited about Mourvedre. Breaking Bud is growing Mourvedre for us.
Yes.
So we will we'll get their Mourvedre.
Okay.
We had a little bit of it this year. This is the first leaf, and we're really excited about what they're growing. So we just think this is like sort of a vision of what's to come with Mourvedre.
Can I ask a silly question?
Sure can.
If you're working 7 days a week and you're working 7 days a week and you come home to do the weekend warrior stuff, is there some sort of peace that comes along? I know you're tired and you're working hard, but is there some sort of calm or, gosh, now I can do what we want to do for our family?
Once June comes along, I'll go out in the vineyard about 6 a.m. And when I'm out there, the sun's just starting to come up and the birds are just chirping away, and I'll just be out there working, and there's just like a peace that just takes place, and it's just like really cool that you have this opportunity just to be there, waiting for the 95 degree that's going to come later in the morning. But it's usually like 70, 75, and to me that's like that peaceful time.
Well, it's like I use a lot of adjectives, but to me it's like that word nirvana, right? There's just that harmony, and there's a melody to being out, you and Mother Earth, right? And then you're out there with your beautiful vineyard that you've worked so hard to create and be there. So that's a great point. You have to have some sort of, I don't know if winemakers and owners and farmers have peace. I really don't, but I think there's got to be something. Yeah, go ahead.
I have the Smooth Jazz Sunset.
Oh, okay.
So I love all sorts of jazz, and I have a playlist on Spotify, and it's called the Smooth Jazz Sunset.
Okay.
And about that time where he might be wrapping up at work, and you should know, Erica, he works here. So he converted a goat barn into his his, it's not really a man cave, but it's his office, and it will be our first tiny home. We have to expand it a little bit. But so it's like Elvis has left the building. He leaves our house and goes to his goat shack converted, right? Mm-hmm. And so he works unless he's on the road. He might be gone. Okay. He might be gone for a few days. So then we kind of reconvene at the house. But my last activity typically is either after dinner or before dinner, depending on what we're doing. And I enjoy that sunset. Sometimes if I go in and make dinner and I come back out, wine comes with me, then I get my sunset going. And I like to drive around and say like, that looks good. I'm very proud of what I did today, or I'm very proud of what we accomplished, or, I got to come back tomorrow and follow up on that little thing over there. But I enjoy that little drive around.
Do you talk to your vines like your good friends over there? So you have a conversation with them?
I talk to them.
That's
yes.
good. I mean,
I play them special music.
Yeah.
You have a loudspeaker on your Jeep there?
Well, no, but I carry one with me. I have one of those clip ones, those JB clip things, and it's always with me.
Because they've proven it that good music, plants respond better.
Yes, there's a vineyard in Italy that plays Mozart 24/7 to their plants.
I am so going to do that when I get a vineyard, and I'm going to make it loud.
Mine are eclectic. They get a little bit of everything.
Well, we've had our neighbors comment and say, you really got a diverse taste in music, because there'll be jazz, there'll be opera, there'll be rock, there'll be country, and like a little bit of everything is played at different times.
So throw a little bit of Led Zeppelin in there, a little bit of Mozart.
Metallica.
When the vines aren't behaving, a little Eminem.
Pink Floyd.
And then Andre Bocelli.
I can see your grapes coming out all confused and stuff. That they don't know if they should be reds or whites.
Oh my God.
As we get closer to the harvest with the Tempranillo, I play them a lot of Spanish guitar music.
Oh, very nice.
Like
I
the
love
Gypsy
that.
Kings, Jones and Ferrara. Yes.
Love it.
Yeah. Gypsy Kings.
Gypsy Kings.
They're
That's
legit.
right. We love that.
Yes.
Hotel California, right? Awesome. Well, cool. So I want to talk about the weekend warrior a little bit. Is that okay? I was on my notes here. And just, I know you're a busy man. You're taking care of your family and you're working hard. I did not know you worked here on site part of the time. That's a beautiful thing, right? To be here in case. But so what is kind of like your weekend warrior mindset? What happens there? Because you've made this commitment. And, if my wife and I made this commitment, we're all in. This is what we do. This is how we're wired. We are all in. So that weekend's going to be busy for you. What do you do to stay calm? What do you do to cooperate? And I say cooperate, that's kind of a fun thing. And what do you do to just stay level-headed as you're out there working hard?
Well, you know what? It's funny you say my mindset, because my mindset is I got the list going. And it's not Krista giving me the list. I got my own personal list, and I want to get things done because 5 days a week I'm working, and I see the blood, sweat, and tears that Krista's putting through. Yeah. So when Saturday morning comes around, I want to hit it. I want to get stuff done. And, so my mindset is, for me, at the end of the day on Sunday, when I've done 6-8 things on my list, that's gratifying.
That's pretty cool.
So for me, it's the, first thing Saturday morning, like I said, 6 o'clock come June, I'm out and just want to get it done.
That's beautiful.
So out of curiosity, which one of y'all two sees more squirrels than the other?
Oh, squirrels? Probably me.
Yeah, it's definitely Krista. Krista is the detail person. She,
we
she
joke
sees
around about
all the details, and it's definitely Krista.
He can take a task, and my job is 10% of the task. His job is 90% of the task, and it will take us an equal amount of time. Because I'm I
remember we went to Rustic Spur, and I was talking to Shara
Glass.
She's a sweetheart.
Yeah, and she was talking about she would get up and have a list, and before the end of the morning, she's already had 10 other things to that list that she had to get done before that day's over with.
Yeah, that's a great point. So is your list, does that happen to you? Or are you more like you have it in order, you have it very detailed, and you know what to prioritize, and it's pretty simple?
Krista has a list, and there's 30 things. The 25th thing is to update the list. Krista's got the incredibly detailed list, and she's the one who's adding to it throughout the day. Me, I got 4 things on my list,
Right.
and hell or high water, I'm getting those 4 things done.
Those things are getting accomplished for the day.
So
Man
that's
on a mission.
sort of very different approaches to the.
That's true.
Really, you got 4 things, but you have a dark hidden one on the 5th one that says, "Look at KK's list."
Right.
He doesn't like looking at
There's
it.
so much stuff on that list.
Her list, yeah.
But the thing that you guys both spoke about was a positive mental attitude. You're talking
yeah.
to your vines, you're going to get things done. And so I feel like that has to be part of your success here.
Yeah, you're very happy people. And I talked about you earlier, but Scott, you're a gentleman. I mean, you're just a real nice guy. So that's got to be a big part of it. So tell me about the negative days. Tell me about the obstacles and all the things you run into when you do this. Because our listeners, we have people like Will out there they're on the verge of saying, I'm going to commit. Okay, we know some of the positives. We're drinking great wine. We build friendships. We change communities. We help out our neighbors. But what are some of the, Will?
There's no verge to it. I'm already committed.
I know you are committed.
You
but we
should
have a lot of
see
like
the
that.
look he just gave Michael.
Yes.
It was pretty bad.
Listen, there are people out there who clearly are going to be adventurous and are going to make a decision, right? Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay, in Texas, because it's growing rapidly. What are some of the things they need to watch out for? I'm asking you, I don't know if I've asked this question in a while, but what are some of the obstacles and hurdles that you need to be prepared for?
Well, I think one of the best things that we did for ourselves was attend grape camp that Twigga puts on, Grape Camp. When we were attending in the beginning, there was a day dedicated to, so you think you want to get into the grape industry, huh?
Wow.
And it was just dedicated to people that knew nothing, or they hadn't explored going to Grayson or A&M or Tech or Davis or anything like that. And we attended that, and that was very eye-opening to us. And we continue to pass that advice on when people come and say, well, we really like this. We want to get in on it too. And it's start small. Make your mistakes small. Make them inexpensive.
Common
Don't
thing.
repeat them. Try a lot of different things before you're committed to doing anything publicly. Don't burn out your friends.
So
You get to choose your site once, unless you've inherited land in Texas. Dr. Ed Hellman, who's with Tech now, I think, has he always been with Tech? I can't remember. It's stuck in my mind. You get to choose your site once.
Mm-hmm.
And, people come and say, oh, this is so beautiful. How did you find it? And we just said, we remember Dr. Hellman said, you get to choose your site once, which means the dirt has to agree with grapes.
Right.
And, the one thing I would say is that early on, we were like, we wanted to get it done fast.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say that there aren't people who have the checkbook that can write a check and get it done really fast. But the wine business it's a marathon. Mm-hmm. It's going to take time. Yep. And that really hit us when we went to Spain we went to Rioja. We love Les Constable. God bless him. He's one of the founders of the Texas wine business. We had the opportunity at our great camp. He spoke to us. And he says, if you want to make a great Tempranillo, in his rough voice, you gotta go to Rioja and you gotta taste the dirt over there. And we did taste the dirt over there.
I have Rioja dirt in the house.
But over there, they talk in terms of hundreds of years. We visited a vineyard. They didn't even make wine for the first 35 years of their vines.
that's
I think
amazing.
you're exaggerating a little bit.
No, it was. So, but the idea when we came home.
Hold on. Wait a minute. I'm sorry. I'm not to interrupt you there. You said 35 years.
Oh, well, I just wrote that down.
35 years.
That's amazing.
They did not. Now, they may sell their grapes. They may make jelly out of the grapes, but they didn't make wine out of the grapes for 35 years.
Wow, that's commitment.
But we came home, and that put us on a whole different trajectory. We just said, you know what? If we want to do it right, it's going to take time, and you can't rush it. And guess what? If something does go right this year, we won't open next fall, and we don't have to. We'll wait another year.
There's no
because we want to do it right.
That's right.
Cool.
And it takes time. So people just want to instant gratification. Now, hey, we want to plant 20 grapes or 20 acres and start making wine. It's no. If you're going to do this right, you got to take 3 years.
Minimum 3, right?
In the test vineyard, making sure you got the right varietals and the right rootstock. And then you're going to plant. You're going to wait 3 more years. But if you're going to do it right, just be ready to take time, because when you try to do it fast, try to do it like half-assed, you're going to make half-assed wine, and that's not what we're into.
Yeah,
Right?
we're
We
not
want to
into
make
that.
we want to make great wine.
That's called box wine.
Yes.
Sorry.
Actually, you know, with that being said, that's actually becoming a big thing now. There's a winery down in the country that's actually doing that, but using their grapes from their vineyard to make box wine.
Well,
Sorry.
we have to fix it.
Well, so-
Not to worry.
So before we move to the next one, do we want to talk about the next wine we got sitting here?
Well, I want to ask you, Scott, should we serve the goal wine before
Wait a minute, you said gold?
the goal?
Oh, gold.
No, let's do this
Okay,
one
all
first.
right. So we were just talking about Rioja, so we got a Rioja wine here
Oh.
that we're kind of emulating.
Okay.
But the next wine is our 2022 Tempranillo, grown here
boy.
on
Calm down,
property.
Michael, calm down. I need you to calm down.
Sweating.
Okay, and this has been in New French Oak just for a short time. Before it was in the New French Oak, it was in neutral. But I'm very proud of this wine. We had such a dry year last year that the fruit was so clean. 2 years prior, each summer was wet, and we were just spraying like crazy the fungicides and had to deal with black rot and all sorts of problems and low yield. But we had a beautiful outcome from this one. I'm really proud of this wine.
I just tried it. It is very, very good. Yeah, and it did something to my nose when I was really well. No, Erica.
It will live in barrel for a long time before we release it.
Yeah, so it's only been in French Oak for a week at this point.
Oh, really?
And we're going to have it in French Oak for probably about a year.
Okay, perfect.
So, so this will evolve even more. And it was funny because, like, we harvested and we fermented, and after we tasted this after fermentation, we both looked at each other like, "Whoa!" Because in 2019, like when we tasted after fermentation, we're like,
Flat.
It's flat. It was like, and this year, like, it took us a year to get that to that point in 2019. This year, or last year's harvest, we got there right away. So our plan wasn't to get new French oak barrels. It's a substantial investment
Yes.
when the cash is going out and nothing's coming in.
Right.
But we just said, hey, we got to go buy French oak barrels and make the investment to because we think this could be like. These types of harvests only come like every 5-6 years.
Interesting.
And like this is going to be one of those years where we may be talking about this in in 15 years from now.
Oh, that's so cool.
So-
That's amazing.
I have to say this.
Yes.
So when it comes to plums, you get your first season plums and your late season plums.
Yes.
Your first season plums are really tart, and your late season plums are really sweet. I get kind of like an in between that season on the plums.
Fun.
It's not tart, but it's not sweet either. It's just like that right in the middle stage.
Well, I'm happy that you think that.
That whole presentation, she's like, that's great. Well,
That's a wonderful
congratulations.
compliment.
But have you ever
Because
tasted
dark fruit is what you're looking for
right?
with Tempranillo.
Have you ever eaten like early season plums? Like if you had your own plum trees, you eat the very first
Red
season.
plums.
Yeah, red
I like
plums.
red plums.
So you get the first season of it. It's really tart. And then you wait. If you let it sit on the tree and wait till later the season, and then you pick it, it becomes really sweet.
Yes, because my grandmother used to make plum jelly,
Oh,
Yeah.
and she would let them hang there till they were practically peeling themselves.
yep.
Right.
My mom used to get the first season and make some jelly out of it, and then wait a little bit longer, and then make some jelly after that.
Our other podcast, We Know Texas Jelly. Let's move on real quick.
Plums.
Plums,
We
yeah.
know Texas
So I have a
plums.
few more questions for y'all if you're up for it, of course.
Yeah.
And we want you guys just to open up and tell us what you want to teach the world about your amazing facility and vineyard here. But you talked about a tornado. Tell us about that tornado incident. We read about it, and Will said something that was very impactful to me. I mean, he's my great friend, but he actually got very emotional because he knows the hard work that goes into farming and building and all these sorts. So real quick, go ahead, Will.
So, and before you go into your story, I got my bonds from Lisa.
Yes.
And she's asked me if I want to come up here and help, just come out and help. And I want to come and help. I really, really do. But just making that trek from Fort Worth to here, that's a long trek,
Yes, it is.
And when I heard about y'all's tornado, I wanted to come up here and help. But it was so hard because I had my day job and then I worked part-time in a winery as well. I couldn't get away enough to come and help. I really wanted to come and help y'all situate. But I know that because the wine community around here is so big about helping each other.
Oh, yeah.
And talking to Rusty, how everybody in the neighborhood, not even just in the neighborhood, in the region, come over here and help.
So when you drove in, did it look like we'd been hit by a tornado?
I was going to ask you. There was one thing I was going to ask you, and this is before your tornado story. I saw cinder blocks in the front. On one of the vines.
Those are for drainage.
Okay.
So
The tornado brought them in, Will.
So a funny story there. We, in 2016, we planted this test vineyard. Like a week after we planted the test vineyard, we got like 3 inches of rain.
A deluge.
And literally the whole test vineyard was under like 6 inches of water.
Oh.
And like,
it was lovely.
You talk about like those moments. We were like, holy cow, we can't have our test vineyard we can't have our vineyard underwater. And so we devised a way to drain the water away from the vines, and those cinder blocks take the water and run it around and into the pond that's south of it. But literally, like the week after we planted, the whole vineyard was underwater.
Where you think it's like, okay, we have got a lot to learn, right?
Yes.
What have we got?
We have a list of learnings, and that incident provided us the knowledge of something that now to us is so simple, but at the time wasn't. But when you run your rough machines, you have to run them with the rows. You cannot run them counter to the rows.
Oh, right.
And part of the problem with all the standing water was we had rented a skid steer, and all the treads were going east-west,
yes.
and our rows are north-south. And so we had a lot of really fun standing water issues.
So you learned. So you learned from that experience,
Yes.
right? We call that
Yes.
failing forward, right?
Yes, exactly.
Well, so the tornado hit y'all, and we had learned that a lot of people came to the rescue.
Yeah. So let me talk about the night, and then I'll turn over to Krista to talk about the next morning.
Okay.
This is
I
exciting.
got a little excited about that now.
This is like a movie.
So like it was 1:40 in the morning, and our dog wakes us up. Our dog Mojo, she was a rescue. She was found running along 30 after the Rolette tornado came, and so she hates tornadoes. And
Storm fear.
So she wakes us up, and it was 1:40 because I looked at the clock, and 3 minutes later, all of a sudden, it sounded like a machine gun. And it was hail, and it was the wind. It was hitting the house, and it lasted 4 minutes. I was like, "Hey, we got our hail nets up. No big deal. We'll be fine." And so after the rain and the wind, it lasted about a half hour. And, at this point, it's like 2:15. We're like, hey, we're going to bed. So we went back to sleep. Then in the morning, Krista goes to take Mojo out, and I'll turn it over to her.
And I open the door, and I look right near Scott's car, and we have a 150-year-old oak tree on the ground down. I'm like, this is not good.
When I pulled it, that's what I saw behind the house still.
Yeah.
Yes, we had a huge cedar down, and we had this 150-year-old.
Oh, man.
And so then I'm like, okay, I'm going out, and I start walking around. Both the roofs on the house and the garage, the shingles were all rolled up like you'd roll up pie dough. And then there's sheet metal everywhere because we had inventory of a sheet metal that we had strapped down on a trailer, and it had been blown everywhere. The loafing shed that faces his office had half of its corrugated metal roof peeled off, and it rammed into his office and broke a window. And so I'm like, I need to get out to the vineyard now because this is not looking good.
Right.
That's a very calm assessment.
Well, and it was still raining. So I put on, in another life, I was a golfer. So I put on my rain suit and took my coffee, and I got into that little Honda that we took our ride on, and I started driving around, and I got up to the curve in the driveway, and I could see what looked to me like dominoes, because the nets were up. We were like, yeah, the nets are up. But the wind power, the water, and what I do believe is the evidence of a tornado, because it wasn't just like line post number 6 and every row got knocked over. It was all over the place. There was no rhyme or reason to it. And I started sending him pictures. I'm like, we have a problem out here. And, I was immediately like, I'm taking pictures and I'm looking at the standing water and it's raining. And then I cried. And by that time, he was out in my truck looking for me, like, get in here. And I'm like,
because at this point it's Friday morning, I got to work, and when you prune your vineyard, you wait to the last minute because our nemesis in Texas is it's not dry, it's not the soil, it is the March or April frost. That's our nemesis.
For sure.
So you want to delay your pruning, because if you delay your pruning, your buds come out late. Mm-hmm. Okay, you can actually delay by a week or two when your buds pop. So Krista always goes to the last minute.
I do.
So we were now 2 weeks into pruning, and like, we got to get this done. And so we got to get our pruning done. And then all of a sudden the tornado hits. So I was like, Krista, we're going to raise up the all the nets. We're going to push the trellises up. We're going to get them off the ground, because we got to get pruning done.
Sure.
Wow. Because if we don't get pruning done, then we're in really big trouble. And Rusty, Lisa, and the family, our good friend Andy Gonzalez, the wino guy, they all came up Friday night, and we got together, and then. And we went out.
The Maldens brought us dinner. The 5 of us sat at the table and prayed together. We prayed in the truck when it happened, when I was crying. And we just were like, okay, you got to pull your big girl panties on, because there's no time for a pity party, because you're in the middle of the most important activity of the year, pruning. And so we just had
a small pity party, and then you moved on. That's what successful people do.
I'm sure you know who Katie Jane Seaton is. Out in the High Plains farmhouse vineyards.
I don't think so.
They grow for a lot of people. So you need to meet her.
Okay, we don't know anybody out in West Texas, High Plains area.
You need to.
Yeah, we just know Bingham out there.
Okay.
That's all we know out there.
She posted to my Facebook, you need to pray, you need to cuss very unladylike, and then you need to move on. And she's like, go get it. And I was kind of like, that's exactly kind of what I did. Yep. And Presley Davies sent me the same thing. She's like, I completely agree with what Katie Jane said. She's like, you got this.
And we did. Saturday morning, everyone went out. We raised the trellises up, got the vines off. Nice. Krista continued on with the pruning. Taylor, Krista started the pruning. We just
another one of our neighbors came. Another woman that I was at in school with, Grayson, who manages a very small vineyard. She's like, I'll be up there. And she's like, I'll give you as many days as you need. Chris McIntosh was my first phone call from Edge of the Lake. Do you need line posts? Do you need wire? What do you need? He's like, Greg is ready to pack it off the trailer and bring it to you.
And Christy and
Christy and Andrew said, we will be over there, whatever we can do. Yep. At the end of the day on Saturday, when Blue Ostrich was closing, Patrick Whitehead called, and he's like, what do you need? He's like, whatever we have, if we have extra, what do you need? We'll get it to you. It was amazing.
You're just not finding that around the country right now, in my opinion. It's been a real interesting last decade in my life watching this, but here in Texas, North Texas in particular, there is a ridiculous amount of that cooperation.
So what you just said a while ago, and it really touched me really hard. And, we talk about the wine community here and how everybody works together and stuff like that, but you actually called it something else that I've not heard it from anybody else say this.
What'd I call it?
You called it the wine family.
Oh, very good.
I like that term. I called it the wine family, and it actually touched, because family helps family out.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Period.
Good families.
And when you're in a wine industry that's competitive, but at the same time you're helping each other out. Yeah. Why can't you just call yourself a family too? And
it does feel like a family, that's for sure.
We order supplies together. We compare notes. We commiserate. We cheer.
We helped 3 of our different friends plant this year because they're coming in our region. We maybe got our feet in the dirt first, but we want them to succeed. So we didn't plant this year, thankfully. And so we took 3 different Saturdays in a row and we went and planted.
Yeah. It's fun, but it's just,
well, can you imagine if they failed and you succeeded, but somebody went to their winery and not yours because they thought it was bad wine?
Yeah.
You want the people around you to enjoy the wine across, because that's what's going on in Napa. That's what's going on in Oregon. That's what's going on in Washington. They try different wineries because they like what's there.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's so much to learn. and we don't have 300 years like in Spain. So like we all have to compare notes. It's, we're not, like what Eden Hill and Blue Ostrich and Arcade, what they learned, guess what? They passed on to us. And now we're learning and we're passing it on, because there's like we're talking about varietals, and we're talking about rootstocks. We're talking about and guess
spraying.
What?
Where are you spraying?
Where we are today, in 20 years from now, we're going to be so much further. But there's just so much to learn that we don't have time to compete. We all got to figure it out together.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yep. So good. But I'm having an emotional moment. Okay, just leave me alone. Okay?
I'm so happy for you.
Well,
Feel free.
I think he needs a hug.
Yeah, you need a hug.
We have a group hug.
No, group hug. Let's do that afterwards. But yes, you may have a group hug.
But not going into long stories and all that. I just really love.
Oh no!
Hey, so
he's getting verklempt, people.
Let me paraphrase, and so I think the cooperation, the family unit, the appreciation for life and the appreciation for each other. I mean, there's a real value system here in North Texas, in my opinion, that is unlike a lot of the world. Yes. And I think that right now we're seeing something special, and that is why I predict in the next 30, 40, 50 years, Texas is going to dominate. And I think it's because of that special thing that's happening, right? Will, did I paraphrase that okay?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we already know that California people or California winemakers are already moving to Texas.
Yes, they are.
I mean,
one of our favorites from Paso, Halter Ranch, is setting up in Hill Country.
If they make Texas wine, I'll be okay with that.
We have not explored what they're doing. We just saw the headline, and I'm like, well, I like them.
There's like 2 of them moving from California here. I mean, cool. I'm okay with it, as long as they're going to use Texas, make Texas vines and use Texas fruit. I'm okay with it.
So I have 2 more questions, and I hope to get some fun answers out of you guys. But Krista, you had talked earlier about using some old world strategies, some techniques, and you'd mentioned something pregame that I thought was I had never heard it before, and I'm just going to throw out the egg white thing. So can you real quick talk about some of the things you're doing and incorporating the old world techniques, and then why? Why are you doing that?
Well, I'm going to refer back to my friend Chris Hornbaker.
Okay. We love him.
So he went through the Grayson program, and in the days that he was attending the Grayson program, it was run a little bit differently than it is today, and they had guest speakers and guest professionals quite regularly. And he told me one year when we were talking that one of the favorite experiences he had was a winemaker from Spain who discussed using egg whites as a clarifier. So if you cook, you know that you can get that egg white kind of frothy, and you can get them to a low peak, high peak, whatever you want, but they will gel. Like what am I thinking of? Like the topping on a cheesecake, you can put like a little bit of egg in, and it will help it kind of firm up into a gel, or you put it into angel food cake and it gets real fluffy. So he told me about the egg whites, and I could put egg white in any of these wines and help clarify the wine in lieu of using maybe bentonite or some other product. And I'm such a new winemaker that I'm still exploring what product I may or may not want to use, because I'm a low interventionist. I don't want to do anything I don't have to do, especially if it has the word chemical or additive associated with it.
And that's advice we got. Benjamin Calais has been another mentor of ours. Just a phenomenal winemaker. And he said, guys, just keep it simple. Because if it's simple, guess what? You can repeat it. And
very true.
We want to keep it simple. That's the old world way.
I like that. That's very good.
And another thing from the old world that we picked up on in Spain is just to reuse things. Take really good care of it. Barrels, tanks, just any sort of equipment. And we do end up doing like what I like to call the MacGyvering on things, because some of the stuff that we have is kind of old and has been used, pretty thoroughly. It's not sitting in this room right now. It's out in the container, but it's been a little beat up, but we take care of it. We nurture it. We put some Flex Seal where it might need something, or spray it.
We got
or,
Les Constable's original crusher distemper that we still use.
What?
and a press from him by way of my friend Ellen.
That's going back to the 70s.
That is amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, that's cool. So you got to take care of that. I mean, that's not only that's
it's
like
a little
heirloom.
relic.
I mean, that's big time stuff right
Yes,
there.
and they don't make the parts for that press anymore.
They don't
Did
even
you
make the
hate that?
parts.
Well, it's like
Wow.
the pictures back there.
Yeah, I was actually looking at these pictures up there.
Yes,
Is
those
that
are
all-
from the 60s from my dad's friend, Dr. Rozonki. He was in the Air Force in Lyon, France, and fell in love with French wine. And he's the first person that introduced me to wine. So those pictures he took when he was in the Air Force in the 60s, before he knew my dad.
Wow. So,
So-
one more. Go ahead.
So what brought up the whole thing about the egg whites and all that is your pig pull here was clear.
Fairly clear.
There was one other one that I drank recently that I'd never had before was Blanc de Bois.
Oh, okay.
And it was so clear. I thought I was actually drinking. When I looked at it, I was like, is that the water glass or is that the wine glass?
Wow.
I mean, it was that clear. And when I actually drank it, I was like, wow, that's amazing. And for it to be clear, I mean, it literally, like, it looked like I was grabbing a glass of water is what it was like.
It
So-
must have been fermented very dry, and the winemaker must have handled it very, very nicely to press it immediately to get that clear juice, because the inside of it, all the grapes are clear,
Right.
except for like two.
Right.
They get their color from the skin. And so, to me, the art of the white wine is getting it pressed quick. Because like an apple, the minute you break the skin, an apple starts browning.
Yep.
That you start to get the brown when the skin is broken, or if it's exposed to air. There's all these little variables, and you just got to hustle along and do the best you can with your
Right.
white. So that's a good sign.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Last question for me, and Will may have another one, and Erica may have another one as well. But I'm a little confused on one thing. You were talking about your library row out there. I didn't really understand that. Can you maybe elaborate on that?
Sure.
What, maybe either one of you, but can you kind of talk
I'll
about that?
tell you about the
Sure.
library. So the vines that you buy that are dormant, they come in bundles of 25.
Okay.
And we didn't know this the first time we ordered dormant vines. And we laid out the rows out there, rows of 8 plants. And the test vineyard, every third row, it changes. So 24, 24, 24. So there's a bonus sitting there.
Uh-oh.
And I'm like, what am I going to do with them? So I'm like, they're just all going to go in their own independent row, one of each.
Oh, okay.
And so I decided to call it library.
I got that now. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
When you described it earlier, I didn't really understand that.
Right.
So now that makes way more sense to me now.
Yeah.
I asked Scott in the Vineyard.
Oh, you did? So you had inside information.
That's how I learned, hey, played the trumpet, not the trumpet. No,
Not the trombone.
I learned that
Any
from
additional
Krista.
questions? Then we'll let these two wrap it up.
It's no, I don't have any more questions. I just want to.
Are you still emotional?
Introspect this whole thing. You and I, KK, have been communicating via email and stuff. And this has been a long time coming to come out here because
Yes.
you talked about you didn't want to do this without your husband,
Right.
because when he was going to leave, you want him to be here, and that's
Gotta have
great.
Scott here.
Yeah, gotta have Scott here. But I mean, it's amazing that what you are doing, and starting out from nothing and going up where you're at, and then having a big devastation like a tornado hit, and driving up and it doesn't even look like you got hit.
Thank you.
It's just that just shows your resiliency in what you're trying to do, what you want to try to commit to, and some people would have just said throw their heads up and call it a day.
Not go-getters, though,
Yeah.
like Scott and Krista. But, yeah, that's awesome. That's a good point. But, we have my West Texas boy here, which is awesome. He's right here. And that's why he calls it a tornado.
Tornado.
By the way, yeah, so I think that's awesome. I love that part of that.
But in
thing.
winemaking and grape growing, you like every year there's something.
Yes.
Whether it was 2019, the frost we had in October 15th or 16th.
Wow.
Whether it is 2021 with the deep freeze.
February 14th, 2021.
Yeah.
On a Sunday. I know that day very well.
Well, February is Valentine's Day.
Yeah, but like every year there's something,
Yeah,
and
right.
that's just part of the biz. You gotta be able to roll with it because if you can't roll with it, you're gonna get out of this business really quickly.
Well, I think every statue that's been erected in the history of the world are of people who overcome obstacles, and you don't have statues of people who are weak and put their tail between their legs and go in the corner and wet themselves. You have statues of people who are winners and warriors, and so maybe maybe some statues of these two in the future, right?
Yep.
So you two wrap it up. Krista, I'll let you start. What do you want to tell people about this amazing venture you're on?
Well, I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Okay.
I've learned more since 2015 than I ever envisioned I would, like particularly running a trencher and putting PVC together and developing an irrigation system. Just all the little things that you don't foresee when you're, you get enough information when you go and get the education, but when you're actually out and your hands are dirty and you're in it and there's no turning back at some point when you got the plants ordered and here they come. I just feel so blessed. I don't think that I have been this satisfied with my choice of work for a really long time.
Well, you've been in the trenches. You know what it looks like in the war of vines,
yes,
right? But I hope you understand this is a compliment towards you and amazing Scott as well. But the mentorship and the things you're going to do to help other people succeed. That's
we love that.
That's kind of a cool thing for me to witness.
That's a bonus.
That's a bonus.
I didn't see that coming when we started doing this. I thought we would just be so engrossed in getting the work done. And one of the neat things about being part of that Grayson program is the networking, and the faculty does a really good job of saying, oh, these people are 25 minutes from here, you should go look them up. Or they'll bring classes out here and we'll physically show them tools and stuff, because you don't see all that from the beginning. You don't see gripples. You made a comment about gripples with Rusty, but a friend of ours who's in the hill country now never saw a gripple or a tightener, or never saw any woman put that together around an end post till she came out here and she's like, I never knew what that was going to be like. She's like, now I know.
That's perfect.
Well, this man right across from me right here used to build barbed wire fences all the time on a ranch. So yes, I'm pretty familiar with all that kind of stuff.
Where your new nickname is Gripple. So
Gripple.
No, Gripple.
Scott and Krista, in your wildest dreams when you met in 2000 in Chicago, did you ever foresee yourselves owning a winery?
Absolutely not.
Not even being in Texas.
Not even remotely. Yeah.
No, we were supposed to go to Europe with your other job.
Yeah.
And the economy put the kibosh on that.
Yeah.
But this is great what we're doing now.
Yeah.
I'm impressed. Scott, wrap it up, my friend. You get the floor and you get to tell us your passion and your vision and how proud you are of your family.
Yeah, you know what? We're really excited. And I think, when we open next year, people are going to come in and spend some time with us. And, we don't serve sweet wine. So they'll find no sweet wines.
He had to get that in. That's important to him.
But we're really passionate about the old way of making wines, and that terroir, that dirt's going to produce a phenomenal wine. And people are going to sit down and they're going to talk to us about the wine, and they're going to learn that there's a passion in each one of these bottles. Yep. And we hope they enjoy that passion as they get to sip it, as they take it with them.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
I'm just going to make this quick comment. You're going to have to eventually make a sweet wine, because there are people out there who want their sweet wines.
Sorry.
Don't tell them what to do.
No, we wouldn't.
Maybe a sparkler is in the future.
But maybe not happy experiment could be the passionate wine.
But those 9 groups that were at Honig, not a single one of them went there for Honig's sweet wine. There was no sweet wine.
Love it.
So there's people who will spend a lot of money and they don't want sweet wine.
We have ongoing conversation about we should have a pop-up on the website in the future that, as you're making the appointment to come and visit with us and try the wines, you understand when you make your appointment that you will not be served any sweet wine when you come here.
She's put her foot down.
You know what? You could add one sweet. We'll give you some chocolate bars.
I don't mind putting some chocolate out, dark chocolate.
Yeah, dark chocolate.
Or, I like to make limoncello on the side. Now that's sweet and that's delicious. That could be something. But
it won't be the wine.
It won't be the wine.
No,
Amen.
Well, cool. Well, thank you guys so much. We're going to be back in a minute, and we're going to take a little break here. But Will, great job. Erica, thanks for joining us as well. But we'll be back with We Know Texas Vino in a moment.
Thanks.
All right. Cheers.
Sure.
Howdy, Texas. This is Erica, Michael's wife, and a fellow wine enthusiast. I hope you are enjoying the We Know Texas Vino podcast as much as I am. Will and Michael are doing a fabulous job highlighting our local wineries and tapping into the knowledge of local growers. Fill up your glass as we dive into our educational segment for this episode. Salute.
Well, welcome back, everyone.
Hey.
We know Texas Vino. We're here on the educational portion, and we're always excited. In fact, most of our listeners, if they do feedback, they comment on the educational part. They're super excited about that.
We actually had more comment on the podcast about the education point because everybody learns something from it.
Yes.
Cool. Even the experienced winemakers and stuff listen to the podcast and they listen to the education stuff and they said, we didn't know that. Right. Or they're like, oh, we just learned something new or something of that sort. And that makes me happy.
In this episode, Will, you're in charge of this educational portion. I might throw in a few 2 cents, but we have 2 experts here. We're kind of excited to pick their brains a little bit. So what are the educational points today?
So today what we're going to talk about are 2 super simple but important parts about drinking wine. And one of them is about decanting and one's about what kind of glass you're supposed to be drinking out of.
Well, fun.
So Scott, KK, take it away.
Well, let's start with decanting.
Okay.
So in the winemaking process, your nemesis is oxygen. You don't want your wines to touch oxygen. If you ever seen the movie Bottle Shock and why that wine turned brown is because they did such a phenomenal job of not allowing that wine to touch oxygen that there's actually a case where it will turn brown in the bottle. When you open the bottle, it touches oxygen, it'll clear up. Okay, so but when you go to taste and drink your wine, there is 2, 3, 4 hours where oxygen is your friend, where oxygen will bring those flavors out. And decanting is your way of introducing the wine to oxygen in a controlled manner so that you're bringing the flavors out. And Krista, I know you got such a phenomenal nose. I'm going to let you talk about how that flavor comes out of the wine when you decant.
Well, I think part of it is the gentleness with which you pour into the decanter. You don't just like slam it in there and let it go in there. Although I have seen people do that. But all the decanters are designed in such a way where a gentle swirling like we would do in our glass is releasing the aromatics and the cool things that are in the wine that you need to smell. Like, because you're always going to see the wine first and then sniff or smell the wine before you let it go into your mouth and taste it, because it's all connected to your olfactory. And the decanter enhances all the cool things that are going to meet your olfactory.
Interesting. So, watched a lot of videos online about decanting and what people do and stuff, and I've seen videos where a waiter will take and swirl a glass and then pour it into another glass, and then he'll swirl that glass, and then he'll pour it into another glass and swirl it, and then he pours it into a vase, and then sits it on the table and spins it, and I'm like, that's a lot of work just for me to drink.
It's a lot of action, isn't it?
But I mean, and then you got that one, and then you've got David at where we used to work at. He had this what I like to call the bong decanter. So it had a little funnel at the top, and you poured it, and then it spiraled down into a little little round sphere, and then it filled up in there, and then it would drip down into the big sphere at the very bottom. And I'm sitting there like, I mean, that's great for show. I love that, but I mean, I want to drink my wine now. So with all those different techniques there, are they, in the end, do they do the exact same thing, or they do a little bit more?
I would say they do.
They all do the exact same thing. And to be honest, you can buy a $15 decanter and
go to TJ Maxx.
Yep. And TJ Maxx, $15 decanter, and it will do what you're looking for. And it'll bring out those natural aromas that you're looking for when you're tasting. Those will start to come out, and all you got to do. Here's the beauty of it. You know what? You get a $15 decanter. You decant like a half hour to 2 hours before. Now, if it's really an old wine, you may want to decant 2 to 3 hours ahead of time. And then you pour your wine and you drink out of it. Now, an important thing though, when you're done, you don't want to wash that decanter out with soap.
Right.
That soap will put a nose into your decanter, and you don't want that. So just rinse it out with water.
That's great advice.
And then clear it out.
Okay.
And you got yourself a clean decanter, but don't use soap.
Yep.
I would also say with that older wine, the older it is, the more likely it may have precipitated some sediment in the punt. And we have a little funnel that has 4 little openings, and it's got a real fine mesh. And we will carefully pour an older wine through that little funnel and mesh to pull any sediment out in the beginning before we start to aerate and swirl.
Interesting.
Because you don't want that, especially if it's like special and you have
Right.
company coming and you're really making a big deal out of it. You don't want that junk in the bottom of your glass.
So I know some of the decanters I've seen, you pour your wine in it, like the Swan decanters.
Yes.
You pour it and you just let it sit there. And then like the one that I was telling you about, like I call the bong decanter, where you pour it and it has this big show and all like that on there. How long are you supposed to decant these? I mean, okay, you said like 2 to 3 hours or 30 minutes, depending on what it is.
Yeah.
But when you have one sitting, where what I'm trying to say, if you have one sitting compared to the ones that are actually moving, is there any difference to that? If you guys have one that's moving, do you still have to let it sit
we
that
don't
long?
have the swirling one. We've got several that are just, let's call them static, but they all pretty much have a neck and then a big kind of a bulb at the bottom. And so both of us will walk by it because more than likely we're cooking something for an event, or one of us is grilling, or I have the sous vide going or something. And so some time has to expire. So we'll take turns. Oh, time to swirl. And we'll stop and we'll jostle it around a little bit and give it a smell and see what we think. And you can tell that it's starting to open up when you start to get some really good fragrance out of it.
But we will decant every red we have.
Pretty much.
And sometimes it's only a half hour, an hour, but we'll decant. It's, it's just a way of taking a good wine and making it a little bit better.
Okay.
And
if I can throw that, Eric and I, we own a few decanters, and we think there's a distinct difference for sure. I mean, when you decant it, it's distinct. And I've actually had people at our home where I'll have them try one or the other, and there's no question in my mind it is a good way to go. And we don't do it as often as we should.
This is why you like ranch water first.
You're right. Sometimes you need to get a drink before your wine's ready to drink.
I'm going to throw this wrench in this chain here, okay? So talk about the decanting. Now, you had those, what are they called, Carvanas?
Yep.
Or you actually
Corvans.
Got one sitting right over here.
So
those are sweet.
Using that, is that almost as good as decanting, or is it still not the same?
It's different.
Okay.
Yeah. So the Corvan allows you to extract the wine without introducing oxygen into that bottle. So you'll use it like we're using it today because we just wanted to take like a one glass and we're not going to drink the rest of the bottle. But it has nothing to do with the flavor enhancement that decanting does.
Cool.
So shift to your next subject.
Yeah, so
which is going to be fun. I'm kind of excited about this one.
Because it's kind of along the same lines of decanting. So talking about the glasses, there's different glasses. So we know that you get the standard glasses are the three that we all drink out of are the flutes for your sparkling. You got your narrow mouth for your whites, and you have your wide mouth for your reds.
Right.
Now we know there's like another 14, 15 other kind of glasses out there.
Well, I've lost track of how many there are.
Yeah, there's tons of them out there.
Just go and get a Riedel catalog or a Schatz Wiesel catalog, and you'll make yourself crazy.
So explain the difference about how important it is to drink the right wine out of the right glass.
Oh, boy. And I would even say sometimes it's fun to drink your champagne out of a non-flute because there's the coupe. And then I've been at places where like a Chablis glass, for example, is used for a super dry sparkler or a champagne. But it is across the board. And the way we were told, we've attended several Riedel tastings with different representatives of Riedel, but all very knowledgeable and colorful. So it all has to do with the way this rim on the glass that I'm pointing to, knowing you can't see it, but it all has to do with the way that rim and this shape underneath it is delivering the selected wine to your mouth. Okay. Where does it hit your tongue in the front? Does it hit in the back? Is it going down the middle? Does it spread in the sides? And they have designed glasses specific to different grape styles to hit you differently based on the wine style and the winemaker. So, for example, we would drink a Pinot Noir out of a different glass than we would drink a Cabernet Sauvignon, a Cab Franc, a Merlot, this Rioja wine, because the Pinot Noir, the Dolcetto, maybe Barbaresco, a lighter red, deserves a little bit more space for the nose to develop. And those Pinot Noir glasses are a little bit narrower at the top, a Burgundy glass they call it. The Cab glasses, like these standard kind of all-purpose, are very unique, almost like the egg with the lid, the top cut off the egg, and that those are for full-bodied wines, and you're allowing all of that full-body tannin minerality. A friend of ours likes to call it a smoke show inside there, to develop and hit your nose. And it also, another thing with different glasses, you can't always get your whole nose on something. So a different friend likes to encourage us to go from one side of the nose with different glasses.
Oh, interesting.
So a funny story. So Krista had referenced the Riedel wine glass, where you taste the same wine with different glasses. And so Krista had been doing it a couple of times, said how great it was. And she's like, Scott, you need to go. And I'm like, oh, come on.
He was
a glass is a glass. You know, by sort of my logical mind, I'm like, wine is wine. This whole thing about the glass is total BS. So, you know, I'm skeptical and I'm in there. I'm telling you, after 2 hours of sitting through and trying the same wine with different glasses, I was a convert. I'm like, holy cow, it totally makes a difference. And It is amazing. There is science behind it, but I the first time I went through it, I tell you, I was as skeptical as probably 3/4 of you who are listening to this.
Right.
Are probably like, come on,
Or more,
a glass is a glass. But you know, if you got yourself a good red, don't have this small little wine glass. Get a big glass. You wanna be able to have oxygen. We had just talked about decanting. The concept of having a big glass for a big red is the same concept. You want to be able to bring those aromas out. So get yourself a big glass. You know, if you're having a Chardonnay or a Sauvignon Blanc and you want to be able to have a white, you're going to have a smaller bottle or a smaller glass. So like we have a whole wall now dedicated in our house to glasses, and it's
impressive.
Yeah.
I think I saw it. Didn't I see
I'm
it?
a bit of a glass freak.
Well, you know,
Yeah.
I
snob.
want to know who decided, like, you know, I want to drink this wine out of this big, huge glass, and I want to drink this wine out of this little tiny
Someone
glass.
with a big
Science,
nose.
right? It's science.
Yeah,
There's actual
science.
chemistry behind
But
it,
I mean,
which is pretty cool.
it's something they just had. I mean, it's just not something they just like, I'm just going to do this, or they've tested it. I mean, they just somehow they came up with that idea, saying, you know, drinking this Pinot Noir out of this bigger glass or this more narrower glass.
Yeah.
Can make the taste different than getting a egg-shaped glass or, you know, whatever. I mean, somebody had to just...
For me, I would credit the Riedel company with introducing those concepts to me. Now, I know there are lots of wonderful glass makers, stemware makers out there. So they all bring this technology. I would say a lot of them are from Austria and Germany, and a lot of the glassware we've been introduced has come from that region.
Interesting.
Yes.
That's cool.
That's awesome. Well, that was really fun. I think I learned a lot, and I just sat here kind of just like absorbing it because it's kind of cool. I want to go through what Scott did, and that is have that opportunity to try wines from different wine glasses, which would be pretty cool. I'm sure open my eyes.
How does one get into that?
All the ones, well, we've done several at the college, at Grayson College, when they have hosted them either for students or for the Texoma Wine Society. And Twigga has had 2 different glassware demonstrations that we've been to in the spirit of what you might do for your wine club or what you might do for when all the advent of private tastings became more important after COVID, you know, how you might set that up and have it look and the experience in addition to the story and the wine was all part of this whole glassware.
I like that idea.
We could probably
Very
make
cool.
an introduction, and
Yes,
it'd be a fascinating podcast talking to them because it's really just fascinating.
Well,
and if you just
to
attend,
get you spontaneously doing it with this woman, I mean, she'd be like, okay, now take that and pour that in there.
That would be
And
cool.
Just for you to be like, you're right. Like, wow, that's crazy.
Well,
but it's true.
I think it'd be kind of cool if we can do something like that up for our listeners so they can understand.
That's what she's saying. Yeah, that'd be amazing.
Yeah.
That'd be so cool.
If y'all have a contact or something like that,
Yeah, we will.
shoot it over to
We'll
us.
Heck, we'll
and-
set these guys up. They can be the leaders. They can be the coaches, and they can.
There's a lot of networking going on
these
here.
people who know it,
You want the representative because it's amazing
That's
to
they're
watch them
really
work.
good and they're very knowledgeable and they're very
It's almost entertaining.
it is entertaining.
It's
Yeah.
great.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so
Yeah,
much.
thank you.
So, what a great opportunity to learn and just have some fun here. I've enjoyed this experience a lot.
This is probably out of all the experiences we had, except minus the fresh cookies, but
the fresh cookies, right?
Okay, but we put out
cookies.
almonds, cheese, and crackers.
The almonds and the cheese and the crackers.
Not that we're like trying to one up Lisa.
Well, I think I ate the majority of the almonds.
Yeah, and you're still eating them. That's right.
Well,
and half the cheese.
This is probably out of all the podcasts that we've done. We actually did. This is our first tasting.
Yeah, it was fun.
I mean, we've had bottles that we have poured out, and we drank the wine a lot. But you actually had it already poured out for us
with a placemat that says "Welcome, we know Texas Vino." So even as you were describing how they were saying you could set up the wine glasses for private tastings because of COVID, having thought go into your display for having people out to your venue is really pretty cool.
Beyond the call of duty, that's for sure. Well, we're going to wrap it up here, Will and Erica. Thanks for being here today as well. We do closing comments real quick, and we'll thank everybody here in a minute. But Will, what's your takeaway?
My takeaway is oh man, I don't even know where to start on this.
Okay,
but it's
another great couple.
No, well, it's just you get. Man, I don't even know what I'm literally trying to figure out how to even place it because it's family. This you play like I said earlier. This isn't family. This is not just a community of people that just help out, but family helps family out, and the wine community in this whole area of all of North Texas, even Hill Country, East Texas, South Texas, West Texas, it's all family.
Absolutely.
In the end, we all help each other out, and that's probably one of the biggest things I took away from this. And it's amazing for everybody. And if you want to give a shout out to everybody that came out here to help you out, you're more than welcome to, because
it would take me a long time to thank every specific person that reached out. So that would take me a long time. Not to mention the 8 years worth of volunteers that have come out and labored with us to get us to where we are now. But you're right. I mean, there is buy-in from your friends, from your family, from your peers.
You definitely know who your friends are when you start doing this stuff, and you're like, hey, can y'all come out and help me? And they're like, I'm supposed to be somewhere like 30 minutes ago.
We have a friend who wants me to have a T-shirt made for him because he now feels he's an expert rough, fine pruner. Because we haven't let him fine prune down to the 2 buds, but we've let him rough prune twice.
Yeah, that's good. Erica, since you're here with us today.
I think probably your grit, determination, and perseverance combined with a laid-back, easygoing spirit has allowed you to tackle a lot of things that have come your way that not a lot of people would. I know there's a ton of farmers that are on this podcast listening saying we've had to deal with the same things, but there's got to be a mix between that positive mindset, determination, and grit to keep going.
That's the word,
and
grit.
Just being passionate about the product that you want others to enjoy.
And my takeaway is Scott talked about this, and we've heard it before, but just that marathon. I mean, it's just not an overnight success. And people who come to this thinking that it's just going to be an overnight success or some sort of immediate gratification are extraordinarily ignorant or naive about what they're trying to accomplish. So, that marathon, you got to be saddled in and ready to take care of that. So, hey, quick thank you to our sponsors, Texas Wine Club, and of course, the Texas Wine Lover app. Thank you to Red River Wines and Provisions at the Hartman Vineyard, which we're so excited for Scott and Krista. You guys are amazing. Thank you for being so gracious and hospitable. And so, so we're ready to wrap it up. I got my quotes.
Go for it.
All right, here are my quotes. I do quotes every week. And so here you go. First one's kind of deep. It's in vino veritas. It is a saying attributed to Pliny the Elder. In wine, there is truth. Yahoo, is that true?
Very true.
And then the last one is also very deep. This is for my wife. Men are like wine. Some turn to vinegar, but the best improve with age. Yahoo.
I like that.
Thank you very much.
Well done.
Yes, well, we're grateful. It's been a wonderful time. And Will, thank you again for making this happen. You're an amazing man, and good luck with next week. I know you're a busy man. And Erica, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
So for We Know Texas Vino, this is Michael.
This is Will.
And this is Erica.
All right. Adios.
Thanks.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks.